salute to Angela Rye and salute to the Native Land podcast. Um, yeah, they have a pretty good, they have a pretty dope podcast, and this clip came across my timeline regarding social media and the little caption on the video was social media making us dumber, which everyone would agree to, but let's kind of hear their analysis or assessment of it.
Sound a bit elitist. And I look, I'm on social media, so I put myself in this. But I know a lot of people who are not on social media. If they are, it's minimal. They don't really participate. And if I could draw a line, I think the people who are not on social media are far intellectually superior. And it's for me anyway, in conversations I have, because you're not spending your time on Instagram or TikTok. Like, these people read more, and not like papers, but they like read books and know about history, and they're just consuming information in a different way. I know I scroll through and I think, oh, well, I wasn't invited to that, and oh, she looks so cute in that outfit, or oh, I need to lose weight, or oh, her makeup looks good. It's a constant criticism or just posing yourself in somebody else's life, and it makes such a difference when you stay present with people. But on the social side of it, I wish we could all self-regulate.
Bars, really, to be honest. And like I said, like the overall sentiment is something I don't think many people would disagree. So I think we just move on to the next topic, right? And yeah, maybe y'all are surprised by this, but I feel as if y'all aren't. I I'm be honest, I'm coming out here and I know maybe I'm kind of putting my hand up a little too early, but I almost just I don't want to say 100%, but for most part I disagree with this. Um, like specifically in regards to, but like even though you might see the trend that people that consume social media maybe aren't as intelligent or aren't like they're a bit you know out of the loop when it comes to some like um I don't want to say educational aspects but intelligence in a way that we had more so before. um I also think depending on how you use it, social media is a tool that, and the internet has allowed people to expand their minds in ways that we've never been able to before. But before I get into it, that's just my reasons. Maybe I'm off the marker. I want to know what y'all think. Do y'all agree with the sister that social media makes people dumber? It's like the age old question. What do you think, Ghost?
Um, to give a simple answer, I would say yes, in a sense. I honestly agree with her take for the most part. There's give and take with social media. I think for me personally, like this has come from someone for who has I don't know if I have any actual like real social media accounts. I got burners that I use to stalk, and that's about it. I very
Jesus,
rarely
I don't know why you
I
frame it
don't
like
really
that,
like
but
uh communicate or I don't know what the right phrase is, but I don't like care about like putting in my 2 cents as far as like commenting on posts. For the most part, I mostly just I'm there to observe. But
that's a
that
way
being
better word than
said,
stock.
yeah,
They about to call you baby reindeer.
I think that reference would hit more if I was a little more up to speed. But social media is very good, very useful, and important for giving perspective. For me specifically, like a lot of the times, like I mean, I have my sisters and I have my mother, but I'm not like getting into the heads of
What
how a
person?
woman will approach a
Oh,
specific
okay.
situation.
About to say what insight are you
And
getting from your moms?
why does that concept seem crazy to you?
I
Even
guess
if it was
I guess I'm specifically thinking on culturally relevant and
oh, okay, okay,
or like
okay.
history or things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. I'm thinking of more like if someone's relaying their experiences and how they think about certain things and uh if they're in a scenario, how would they approach it? social media is excellent for that because just anecdotally hearing stories and uh what would you do in this situation and this happened to me and this person was saying that to me, a lot of the times there's certain things that I just would not have considered or wouldn't have even crossed my mind until I hear someone else say it, and then I hear it, I'm like, yeah, from that perspective that makes a lot of sense. And just on a base level, that's an extremely important thing to be able to relate to people that are outside of your sphere and that you kind of wouldn't have had that opportunity to do as well without social media, because people aren't just going up to you and spouting off some random secret story that happened to them, because that's just not how people work. But if you're scrolling and you see come across a Twitter post or a Reddit post and like, oh, XYZ story happened to me. And yeah, they're just telling to get off their chest, but there's still a lot you can glean from that. So that, I think, specifically is a super good tool, a super good thing to take from social media. But on the flip side, I think that it's very easy to get lost in the weeds with, like, if you're getting information from social media, if you're getting news from social media, if you're consuming them stupid ass who's paying at a restaurant posts,
Oh yeah.
like, bro, a lot of the stuff that's on social
uh,
media is just pure brain rot, and
Absolutely.
it's absolutely pointless to even get involved with, but we still do it. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too, but it's just like some of the stuff, it's like, why am I'll sit back and like, why am I watching this? Why am I interacting with this, or why am I even giving this a time of day? Because it's pointless, but it provides that base level entertainment that keeps me occupied or entertained. So I'm tuning in when I shouldn't be, and that's where I think what she's talking about in like actually conversing with people, dealing with people in person on a day to day basis can provide something that social media does not. It's
You
perspective in a different
you
way.
can't get brain rot from talking to the average person.
I mean, you can, but it's like if someone says something stupid to you, you can be like, you probably think to yourself, yeah, that's stupid, and you'll go about your day. But if someone online says something stupid and you got 100,000 people backing it up and giving their justifications for why this stupid thing isn't that stupid, and then that's when you start to get a little wrapped up in it, and you got people going back and forth in the comments arguing this way and that way. And that's not to say that every opinion that you encounter is that's opposed to yours is going to be wrong, but there's some stuff that is just like, it's really really dumb, but the more you get exposed to these dumb takes, the more they kind of take root, and when they shouldn't be, and you it can spiral into very very foolish territory, very dangerous territory if you let it. And it's super easy to let that happen on social media versus other mediums of communication and dealing with people. So I don't know. I for the most part agree with her take. There's a lot of good, I should say, that can come out of being online, social media, the internet. But when it comes to certain things, just dealing in person and reading books and getting information from a source that isn't, like, you don't know if it's made up, you don't know if it's AI, someone could literally just be spouting bullshit, but it has that uh where usually you would just ignore this info because you don't know where it came from. If 100,000 people are agreeing with it, then you might be inclined to agree with it as well, even though you shouldn't be. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, a lot to unpack in there. Again, before uh, kind of do some of the pushing back, I want to know what you got to say about it, Ace. Um, I guess, are you on the sister and at this point Ghost's side that social media is making people dumber?
Um, yeah, I mean, in the way that she framed it, I agree pretty much 100%, and that is mostly from my own experience with myself. Like, and I interpret what she said as almost purely like the time used or put into social media to consume content that is vapid and not beneficial. She was just mentioning like looking at people's weight and um what they're what they're dressed in and things like that. Like if you're pouring hours into that, you could be using that time in a more useful and productive
But we don't think a person that is inclined to have those thoughts when they see it online is inclined to have it in IRL as well.
um
Like if you're in a social, if you're in a social setting and you're looking around at folks and oh you see this person just got a new car or you see this person just got invited to this or has this opportunity or is losing weight, like
mhm.
is that why? What about social media um, creates that opposed to a person just already having that no shade to the person but insecurity about things in life.
Well, I didn't see it as like that was the equivalent from the way she was explaining it. Like the time that you spend on social media, you if if you weren't if you weren't spending that time on social media, you would be in interacting with people in real life. Like she just said, she pours hours into social media and then instead of like reading books, or I don't know if she gave any other examples, but to me it would be instead of doing something with your phone, you'd be doing something else that um that is still like immediate. It's not necessarily going out the house and um like replicating what you would be doing on social media. It's just spending your time in a more like you would more naturally spend your time in a more productive way. So when
Fair
I
enough.
equate that to myself, like I've done that too, where I've noticed, okay, for me, I don't really use social media, but I do consider YouTube as a form of social media in the way I use it because
It
there
definitely is.
is, yeah, there is, you can get into the whole mindless scrolling, just looking at shorts and random videos and stuff like that. So, pop the balloon, for example.
Oh my god.
So,
Now that's gonna rot your brain and make you feel self conscious. Absolutely.
so yeah. But when I deliberately say, okay, I'm gonna stop using YouTube like I am, put the limit on myself. No using YouTube on my phone, for example. I just automatically start gravitating to reading again or playing guitar again or just trying to learn something new.
Yeah.
And it's not even like I have to put much effort into it. It's like I, I'm not going to use my phone, so what else am I going to do? And I look around, and I got plenty of stuff I can,
Yeah.
um, occupy my time with that is way more useful than just scrolling senseless, or useless videos. Um, so yeah, that's like how I'm interpreting what she's saying
Mm-hmm.
about social media making people dumber. Um, of course, on the flip side, I do think there are benefits to, for example, YouTube, when not used in the way that I just described, just scrolling videos senselessly, like looking for something with a purpose. If you're looking up, tutorials on how to, learn a specific thing, or even if you're, trying to just dig into like historical topics and things like this. Um,
You already know where I'm going with this, or I would go with my part.
I don't, but I'll just finish my point. I do think there are definitely useful. Um, I mean, yeah, there's benefits to social media in that way. Um, and then again, like me personally, I do use Instagram very specifically to follow rollerbladers that I like and artists that I like drawing artists, because that inspires me not to just keep scrolling, but to want to get out and rollerblade or to want to draw. So it's something that like pushes me off the platform, kind of. or gives me inspiration, and then again pushes me off the platform. Um, so like there are concerted ways that you can use social media, um, to that don't make you dumber, that are useful, but you have to be extremely deliberate about it, because, or at least I do, because it's very easy to fall into the just mindless scrolling.
Yeah, I mean, what comes to my mind, there's kind of two things I want to hit, but what comes to my mind is like, if you, and I'm glad you did it, if you're already bringing in examples of when you use it to your benefit, both for potential entertainment and or for informational purposes, then how do we not say this is more of a user issue than a issue of the actual media or platform? Like
because
it's go ahead.
because the platform's goal is to keep you on the social media. It wants you to be on there as much as possible, with no
I mean,
regard to what you're actually consuming. Like, it just wants you to be on there.
that's
So
true. Just like how like a store's intention is for you to stay in there and shop, or like I don't know. I guess and consequently, like a library's objective for you to be in there, stay in there and read. Like every platforms or systems goal for you is to use it as much as possible. But it's still incumbent on the user to take what they need from it and go about their day.
okay,
And another thing, because I got don't worry, this clip has more in it. And I'm really trying to be like objective about this, and I'm not trying to be just a book bigot, but this whole thing about like, okay, if I'm not on social media, I can spend more time in reading. One, that might not even be realistic for a large majority of humans, but I think like I don't know. I don't want to say it's archaic, but we're
Majority.
just not. We're
Your
just not.
bias is showing, bro.
We're just no. I'm not. I'm being super real. We're just not there currently in this day and age. Like we've moved past the, we've moved past the like the era or need for like all our information coming out of a book that's written by somebody. Like we have we have so many other ways to consume content information. Obviously, like you mentioned, YouTube is one of the great examples. There's so many channels that provide so much informational content, whether it be current or history, that I personally consume and use. And then like even on some of these more smaller skills, like you could watch a quick short like how it's made TikTok or Instagram reel or like something like something that come across your timeline, whether it be more a more activity or sports based thing, whether it's more informational, whether it's more like finance or entrepreneurial, and like that motivates you or gets you in the mindset of all any of these respective things. And then like again it becomes incumbent on the user to like interact with that piece of information, and that yeah, that piece of information, that content, the way it would make sense for that user. I think what I'm trying to say is like eh, I don't think it's the most healthy or like realistic thing to have the mindset of like, oh, if we take away social media, people are going to go into these other systems or platforms that's going to wholly benefit them more off. I think if a person's more inclined to be the person that takes information and is productive with it, they're gonna do that with social media or not. Like you take social media away from the people from the people that we're talking about, they're just gonna occupy their time with other things. So it's gonna be TV or just like wasting their time on something else. Is like how I see it.
so okay, I mean, if you're if you're saying that, I should say it this way. I guess I was framing this more in terms of my own experience.
Which is
Again,
fine.
in
Although
that,
we still got to think about it in a general sense as well.
no, no, you're right, you're right. In that I when I do not spend time on social media, I spend like I definitively spend my time in a more productive um way. But again, that is with the caveat that it's when I'm trying to avoid the mindless like scrolling and the just consuming um content that is completely like useless. Just not, not deliberately searching for things that um are relevant to um my life or things that
Yeah,
I'm
it seems
trying to
like
figure out.
when you're trying to avoid mindlessness in general, like you can consume yourself with other things that are mindless outside of social media, but you are a
You
person where it seems
can,
like you're um you're predisposed to you're not gonna waste infinite amount of time on certain things.
but the isn't there, like, to me, the point of saying social media is making people dumber is like, if I were to say that, or if I were to espouse that idea, I would, my goal would be to convey that, again, like, the social media platforms are designed to keep you on there regardless of what you're watching.
Mm-hmm.
It just wants to keep you engaged, and because of that system, there is um there's almost like an incentive to push things, to push videos to you that are, again, like, more likely to keep you engaged,
Okay,
clickbaity titles,
I see where you're going.
clickbaity thumbnails. So in my, like, in me telling somebody else, or trying to get across the idea that social media is, it has this negative, um I don't know, like, context, or almost like design philosophy to it, it would be to explain that limiting your use of social media and trying to be more deliberate about how you use it, how you spend the time, avoiding just going on there just to go on there, but going on there with a specific intention, searching for a specific video, whatever, like, using it in that way is better. So I agree with you that it is on the user, and I don't think I would ever say just like social media shouldn't exist, but there is a very there's a very important point, I think, that does have to, or that should be um made more um prominently known about social media, that like, there is this inherent um issue with it that needs to be acknowledged and deliberately, like, I don't know, worked around, or um you need to approach it with intention to avoid just falling into this mindless cycle of just vapid, like, entertainment, for
Yeah,
entertainment's sake.
obviously, obviously we see what you're saying, and yeah, I think most people would agree with that. I guess it kind of gets into semantics. I guess the more accurate way to kind of express this issue is like uh excessive use and or um lack of self awareness of how it's impacting you of with social media is what makes people dumber. I guess
Right.
is like the caveats to all this, but again, I guess if you
But that's not a clickbaity title.
yes yeah ironic it all gets back to what social media does. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. That make I think I get on board with that. Again, like we're saying, a lot of it is on the user, because I guess this just not one to one, but in the same vein, it's just like I don't know. Couldn't one stretch it and say like the point of a really good author is to keep you invested in that book, so you're not spending time on other stuff.
It's not as predatory
Yeah,
though. Like these social media sites,
So now
like their
social media
whole
is
goal.
predatorial.
Yes, their whole goal is to monopolize your time. However,
Everything's goal is to monopolize. That's what I'm trying to say.
nah, bro, it's different. It's just
If you're
different.
watching TV, they want your time.
Yeah,
If you're
okay,
going to the
that
store, they
that's
want your time and money. Like there's no I guess business or entity that once they have you in it, they want you going off away from it.
but the thing is, you're correct, but with those other things, there's an expectation that at some point, like you can't stay at the store for 24 hours. You can you can't take a TV everywhere with you. With social media, with phones, like it can literally monopolize every second of
Dang,
your
I wonder
day.
what's the world record for being on social media.
It's just it's kind of it's hard to qualify specifically, but it is different, and it's and yes, it is predatory, and I don't I'm not gonna go and say it's malicious. Well, it's malicious in a sense, but we live in a capitalist society where it's all about finding whatever way to make money. So I understand, even though if I don't agree with it, but it is predatory. Like that is to be undeniable.
I will
And a
say,
lot of other things are too, but it's not as severe.
I will say, like an interesting discussion that we could have is like, for me, one of the things I realized is that I was spending a lot of time watching videos about content that I had never consumed, and like get people's opinions on it, and like just have these opinions formulated on, books or movies or whatever,
That can definitely be
um
dangerous.
and not, yeah, and not consume it for myself. So that was like literally one of the or has been one of the triggers for me to say, like, why am I doing this? Like, why don't I just read the book for myself, or why don't I just watch the movie and formulate my own opinion? And like,
Yeah, you gotta watch the
um
movie first.
what you say?
So you gotta watch the movie first, and then you go watch the
Yeah,
the deep dive lore video on it.
yeah, exactly. But at the same time, some of the stuff I'm watching, like, it's not, or the books that I would read, it's fiction, it's fantasy. Like, there's no, like, what would you can't really say like it's making me smarter, or it's making me more informed about the world, or anything like that, in a very specific way. Although I do feel like there is benefit that comes from it, it's hard to put my finger on what specifically that benefit is. So if somebody were to say, you know um, well, if the person spends this time just reading fantasy books or fiction books or whatever, instead of being on social media, there's no difference, or there's no like, it's not helping them in any more significant way. It would be hard for me to argue against that. And I don't know, Ghost or Quest, if you have a if you have a different opinion about, or an opinion about, like, things that don't seem to inherently have um value still having value. Like, what is that value of watching a movie, or reading a book that isn't grounded in, I don't know,
Yeah,
realism or whatever?
yeah, that gets into a whole separate like topic. But yeah, I mean, fundamentally, I think a lot of people genuinely agree. Like, entertainment is like something that is an inherent or can be an inherent benefit to humans. Consuming things that we genuinely enjoy. I feels I feel that's the primary reason why Ghost would enjoy itself, because if he's feels if it's educational, then it's not gonna work. But it goes aside. Yeah, I think there's nothing there's nothing inherently wrong about consuming things for entertainment for the sake of entertainment. Obviously, it can go into a destructive path,
Mm.
potentially even easily. But it just depends on the respective person.
But yeah, I mean, maybe it's just the intention thing too. Like when I was watching those videos, it was more to just literally like fill time or um uh yeah, just fill time like,
It's a
instead of
distraction.
yeah, instead of going at like reading a book and trying to understand
Yeah,
it.
which
It
you're
was,
active, even though it's not inherently like useful, you're
yeah,
actively consuming this thing and deliberately doing it versus
right.
just accidentally. That's why I had to uninstall all these like all these apps. I have to uninstall on my phone because I will literally just be sitting there and open it up mindlessly and be like, "What am I doing? Why did I open this up?"
Yeah.
Versus with a book, like I'm not necessarily improving my life when I go and find a book to read, but at least I'm making the effort myself. It's not something that I just encounter.
That's the
So,
only element. That's the only element of this I can't fully co-assign. Like,
my God. Well, okay,
there's
a movie then, because apparently you say book and it
no.
just
I'm
triggers
my
you.
the I'm not again. That's why I'm like my book by side. I'm trying to say like I don't think there's anything that is inherently or can't fulfill the same not intent, but fulfill like what people get out of social media. Like if we're calling it like brain rot, just like the average going down your timeline, just going to video, just like scrolling, like none of it's actually providing any informational value, or maybe even entertainment value. You're just doing it, like you said, to pass time. Like that, and I know it sounds crazy, but I think that can happen while reading.
No,
Like
you're right. You are
there's
right.
obviously
You are
books
right.
that aren't
Yeah,
necessarily
yeah, yeah.
wholly fulfilling. They're just like it's just like a catchy story, and maybe it's kind of salacious or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah,
Um,
you are right about that.
but I think you guys do propose a valid rationale. Social media is probably where it the most growth form of it. I can get on board with that. Because yeah, even for myself, like I'll get on. And it's kind of weird to defend social media. Like I don't think social media needs to be defended. But yeah, even me, I've definitely made conscious efforts to like I don't like get into that scrolling through shorts or reels or TikToks. I don't I, I think like literally like it was one point there's one day in time where I was like if a video comes across my timeline that I want to consume, that's good. But I don't want to scroll to the next one and get lost in that. I don't like that. And I just yeah, it's for like the time aspect of it because you really do get lost when you just keep going down that reel, and I don't like that. So obviously I'm not obtuse to what just talking about what you guys are talking about. Yeah, the biggest one of the story is you have to be the biggest. You have to be conscious of your how you consume social media and media in general, and you have to be the biggest like they said a word that kind of encapsulates what I'm thinking, but you have to self police yourself when it comes to that, because yeah, you can definitely get lost into it. But don't go blaming social media for all your issues. Social media is not the reason why you're dumber. It's you need to take some accountability. But if nothing else, we can move on to the next topic.